Our guest loved teaching and taught in public schools for 15 years, but she quit when the curriculum became less about education and more about forcing the toxic ideas of critical race theory on her vulnerable students. Her story is coming up next. Welcome to the Moms for America podcast. Each week, we introduce you to special guests who share their personal stories and advice on how to build a strong foundation of faith, family, and freedom in their home, community, and country. Hi, moms. I'm Debbie Corralitis, your host, and this is the Moms for America podcast, a show inspiring, encouraging, and educating moms in their journey through motherhood. We want to invite you to like and subscribe to our podcast, and we also ask that you share this podcast with your mama friends. I'd like to welcome everyone that's here for the first time, and also thank you for those that have come back and visited again. We're so glad to have you here every week on the Moms for America podcast. Also, if you have an idea or a topic or a question, would you please email me at podcast@momsforamerica.net. Again, that's podcast@momsforamerica.net. I would love to hear from you. I also do want to invite all of our moms that are listening to please join our movement here at Moms for America. It's moms like us all across the country, uniting together, arm in arm, hand in hand, to fight for faith, family, freedom, and the Constitution. So again, please go and check out momsforamerica.us. That is our website with all of our great resources and information about our organization. Alrighty, so on to today's program. Fontanilla is my guest today. Callie taught middle school and high school for 15 years in California. Yes, California. But even though she loved teaching, she quit her job largely due to the changes she saw in curriculum, mostly related to critical race theory. You've heard a lot about this lately in the press, a lot about it in your community. We've been talking about it for quite a while now, critical race theory. When Callie spoke up, she was called anti-people of color, even though she is a mixed race herself. Her faith and her conscience could not allow her to keep teaching in the public school arena. So yes, she left and she started her own online teaching academy called the Exodus Institute. Again, it's the Exodus Institute. Well, welcome, Callie, to the Moms for America podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
All right. So I want to get to know a little bit about you and your family before we get into the business of everything that you're doing and the message that you have, which is so powerful. But what is your tribe like over there?
Well, I was a foster mom in California. My husband and I, we always had a dream of adopting children. I actually took care of my godkids. My friend has 7 kids, and she at times would have a hard time with them, and we would take them for the full summertime. I would take them sometimes, especially the girl mom and girl did not get along very well. So I'd take her for a couple months, 3 months, 4 months, sometimes 5 months.
Wow.
And so for about 10 years, we were really heavily involved with helping to raise our godkids. And now they're grown up. And so my husband and I decided to get our foster license, and we were just about to start fostering in California when the pandemic hit. And we decided, maybe we'll put this to a pause right now because of everything that was happening with foster children. And you don't really have many rights as a foster parent, right? And all of the requirements of kids having to wear masks and having to give them shots that I don't agree with, or having to, pull them from school and keep them at home. And then on top of that, when we did get calls for a foster child, it was a girl that was questioning her gender. And she was 10 years old, and she was questioning her gender. And they asked me if I was going to if I was going to encourage and support and affirm her transition. I said, no. I said, she's 10 years old. And the thing about foster children is especially in America, is that most of them come from abusive homes. Well, all of them do. And they actually have a higher rate of being trans and questioning their gender. Now, does
Because
that
they, right.
mean, yeah, exactly. Is that
Their
just
situation
shows
is so tough, right?
exactly. And that just shows that it's not just children that feel like they're in the wrong body, but a lot of them are suffering from abuse, and it's
Sure.
translating to hating their own body and
Right.
questioning their gender. So I told
Wow.
them no. I said, she's 10 years old. I'm not going to encourage that. I'm a Christian. I don't I think that's going to put her down a path of self-destruction. And we didn't receive any calls after that.
That was
But
it
now
then.
I realize that now that my god kids are grown up, the foster child thing didn't work out. We weren't able to, my lifelong dream of doing that. But now I realize it's so that I can travel the country and not have children at home, so that I can fight for America's kids. And not everyone can do that, especially moms. Moms are, their attention is divided. They have their children and then they have their causes. And I think any mom that's doing both is a hero. But of course, it's divided attention. But I can give all of my attention to fighting for our nation's children, which are in
Beautiful.
we're in an emergency 911.
We are in an emergency.
Yes.
Wow. Well, what a beautiful background. So I just love hearing that story because, when we have people in our family that need help, that's where we really need to rise up.
Yes.
Definitely
Yes.
intervene and help. So thank you for that and all that you're doing. And really, I kind of call you as a mama that is fighting for the children all across the country here, because you are unraveling and sharing a story that moms need to know about, because this, and you know what, people who are teachers, they are mamas to those, to all those students too. So in some ways it's like, wow, you embrace them with your whole heart every day when you're teaching. And I know that's what you had a beautiful passion for. So let's kind of get into that a little bit, Kali, and talk about the fact that you really felt called to being a teacher. That was your passion. That was your calling. That is what you wanted to do in life. You wanted to help children in a special way.
Absolutely. I've been teaching for 15 years. I started, my first job was in Compton, California. I ran an after school program, and the kids there, it was actually in the projects, the school, and we would have to do lockdowns whenever the police would come to arrest someone in the project neighborhood. Our school would have to lock down. I would meet parents that came in their pajamas, addicted to drugs, but these kids were so beautiful and they were so resilient and intelligent. And even when I would say I am right leaning now, but even when I was left leaning, I've always been against lowering standards for minority children. And I'm seeing that is happening collectively because of all of this critical race theory, hyper race focused, racist garbage that's being pushed on our nation's children and teachers. They are starting to lower the standards for Black and brown kids. And that is so criminal to me, because they absolutely can meet the standards. And it's just something else is going on besides their race that's causing them to not be able to be as successful. And yeah, I started in Compton, and then I taught in Salinas, California, which is considered the gang capital of America, of California. Wow. But again, those kids are so amazing and resilient, and they want to be successful.
Sure.
And I'm seeing pushback on teaching children that if you work hard and you are apply yourself and you dream big, you can do what you want in America.
So say that again. So you're getting pushback.
Yes.
When you instill values of hope and success into the children. And I know this is always so shocking when you hear this, but now was that your choice to go into communities that are challenged? Is that
absolutely? I've always, well, for one, I was raised very low income poverty. My mom was a housekeeper, and my dad left us when she was pregnant with me. And we really had a tough upbringing, but I do believe that education is a bridge out of poverty. I think there's other ways now. In fact, I'm it's funny because I was for 15 years was encouraging kids to go to college, and now I'm kind of like,
right. There's trades, there's certifications. Exactly, yeah, I mean, there's so many options now, right?
I feel like now it's better to just go into a trade and skip all of these crazy woke campuses now that we have with college. But I do believe that there is a path out of poverty through education, whether it be through trade school or just having a good goal and focus in life, which is what I had. And that was always my goal, is to really catch kids while they're still young and moldable. And I think that's
and to your point, when you're saying this, it's destructive then when we take the educational system and we make it so it's not successful, that it is not the bridge, that is not a way to further yourself. So it's really like, wow, why would anyone want to destroy the educational system? Because it really is a chance for all of us, whether you're black, brown, white, doesn't matter, for us to be successful. So let's talk a little bit about the subjects that you were teaching, to what ages, kind of set us up to where this situation happened, which actually, like we mentioned in the open, you actually left teaching because of these situations that were happening. But let us know, what was the culture like? Where were you at? What were you teaching? How old were the kids?
Sure. So I was teaching high school. I've always taught middle school. I switched to high school because we had a brand new high school open in my district, and I was excited to launch a school. And I'm actually really glad I did that, because I can imagine teaching middle school would be more challenging. In California, we locked down for 14 months. I mean, our schools were shut for a long time. And it was a blessing that I was teaching high school instead of middle school. I teach the English language learners and the kids that are behind in reading. I've always done the classes that other teachers don't necessarily like to do, the harder students.
For you.
And I noticed, so my ninth graders, California did something where they told, there was legislation that was signed by Gavin Newsom that ethnic studies is going to be a required class to graduate.
Ethnic studies.
Yes.
Okay.
And my district decided to go ahead of the legislation and require it for their ninth grade students just already, even though it's been legislated, it's not required yet. There's still some time to implement it.
Okay.
My district was like, nope, we're going to do it now. And
Okay.
so my ninth grade students were in this class. Now I teach the English learners and the low readers. So I checked, we during homeroom, we would do grade checks, because I want to see how they're doing in their other classes, because the skills that I'm teaching my students is very much translatable to other classes. I noticed that my students, the majority of them, were failing this ethnic studies course. I would say about 60% of them were failing this course. And I would ask them, why are you guys all failing ethnic studies? And I had some of the boys tell me that they thought the class was stupid. And I didn't really take that seriously, because I think a lot of classes are stupid.
Right.
But I decided to, because
delve into this a little bit, because now you're seeing a red flag. You're like, why wouldn't this be an easy class? That would be my point, right?
Exactly. So we share the same platform, the teachers and I, because we're all teaching online. We're all loading our lessons onto the same platform. So I went and looked at the ethnic studies lessons, and I was shocked by what I saw. And I will say that the class is stupid, and it's brainwashing our kids, and it's hyper race focused. And it does not belong in our schools.
What did you find? So now you go in there, what are the messages? What are you seeing? And I could see now, obviously the kids were not buying into this. So this is going to be interesting, because it was really a tip off from your kids. This wasn't a teacher explaining it.
Exactly.
This was children saying something isn't right here. We believe that this is the land of opportunity, and no one, right?
Especially English learners. Majority of my students were immigrant students from Mexico. They came here, their parents sacrificed to come here because of all the opportunity in the US. And here they're being told that the US is systemically racist, that it's out to get them, that it's been set up to only benefit the white man and oppress the minorities. And that's exactly what this class was teaching. So for example, on day 5, the kids were given a privilege quiz, 14 questions to rank their privilege amongst classmates. And at the end, they were asked, how does it feel to be on the top? How does it feel to be on the bottom? And these questions were so carefully chosen. They were things like, do you have a teacher that looks like you? When did we ever care about that? And when I was growing up as a kid, my favorite teacher was a gay white male. in high school.
I remember my favorite teacher. I swear she was like 100 years old.
I didn't know. He was just great at teaching. He didn't force his gender identity on us. It was just he was an excellent teacher. I learned so much from him. Did it matter?
So we start asking kids to start looking for breakdowns, something that's not relatable, start splitting it. We start dividing. So you could see this was very clear to you. And now, do you go and talk to the kids about this? How do you find out a little bit more about all this?
Well, I looked through the whole curriculum, And at the
Okay.
same time, I'm hearing on the mainstream news, because we're hearing buzz about critical race theory.
Right.
And I don't know how it got tipped off to the nation that there's this stuff going on in our schools. I think part of it was the lockdowns and parents were seeing these crazy lessons.
Right.
And I'm hearing the news, the mainstream news, including the NEA, the National Education Association, the American Federation of Teachers, deny it and say that critical race theory is not in our nation's schools, in our K through 12 schools. And then I'm looking at these lessons that are being delivered to the students, slides that say critical race theory given to the kids.
The
that
slides
say,
even say it. So they're right. They're not bashful at all when it comes to this. They are just so bold.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And they truly think I believe these teachers have good intentions because they have been radicalized by their education. The problem is we have a new generation of teachers coming into our nation's schools. If you follow libs of TikTok or any of these like sites that expose what's going on in our schools, you'll notice that all the real crazy teachers are under 40. They're all younger looking. The ones that are like, I'm non-binary. I just posted a video on my Instagram today where the teacher was like, I am super queer. And she's encouraging, and she got mad because she was telling her boys in her class that she wanted to be a they, them, and she's non-binary. She wants to be addressed as she's a middle school teacher. She wants to be addressed as a they, them, and she's non-binary. And the boys are like, well, can you just say that I'm a girl? And then she calls them a bully and that they're transphobic. And I'm like, these boys are just being middle school boys.
Right.
You're asking them to call you they, them, non-binary. Of course, they're going to be like, well, who's this freak teaching our
It doesn't make any sense to their brain either.
Exactly. They're not bullies.
Right. Of course. So now you're seeing all this happening. You're hearing about critical race. You're seeing it in the school. What do you go to the kids and talk to about this? Now, do you have to adopt this in your class?
So I was being given homeroom lessons that were supportive of Black Lives Matter.
Okay.
That really glorified the Black Lives Matter movement. And I had tenure and a good reputation in my district. So I just didn't teach them. And I've been doing that for my whole career. You see stuff in the curriculum, because it's everywhere now. You'll see stuff in the curriculum that, for example, I always taught kids that had parents that worked in the fields. They were field workers.
Okay.
And there was often lessons given to me where it talks about how oppressed these field workers are. When you meet these parents and they're incredibly proud of their work, they're proud of their children, and now we're just telling their kids that they are oppressed field workers.
Right.
And I just don't.
It wasn't setting right with you.
Yeah, it's not my place to say that their parents are oppressed because they're working in the fields. Now, do I think that there is some exploitation of our field workers in America? Yes. But does that mean that it's their parents? I don't know. Some of them are supervisors. Some of them,
and again, maybe their parents should be discussing this with them.
Exactly.
And their heritage and their career and what that is, not the school deciding. So,
and they wanted kids to feel shame for their parents, for their skin color, because they are now considered oppressed in America. And you pushing a victim mindset on a child is so toxic. You meet adults that have victim mindsets, and they're the most obnoxious, annoying people in the world because they're always blaming everyone else for all of their problems. They're like hung up on something that happened to them 10 years ago, and that's why they can't move forward in life. Well, now they're putting it institutionally on our children that they are victims. And then on the other hand, they're telling that to white kids that they're the oppressor and that the whole society was built to benefit them. When a lot of these kids come from, especially in my area and I was teaching, some of them had harder lives than the kids that were minorities at the school. So
they might even be biracial. So now you're asking them to choose between which parent.
Exactly.
The oppressed or the oppressor. And you're right about the victim mentality, because that just completely debilitates.
Absolutely.
You cannot go forward when you're a victim.
Nope.
And, so we know the game is out there. I guess now we're all noticing how destructive it is, because like you said, this is it's brainwashing. It's indoctrination. It's taking over really the child's thinking process. Why do you think that there is such an obsession in the public school system to be teaching about race and about gender? I mean, it seems to, like you said, it's systemic through the public education system.
I think it's a
Why?
destabilize and destroy America. So in America, socialism and communism, you kind of have to collapse a society to bring in those systems.
You do.
And it's really hard to divide America by class because we have so many self-made millionaires. Our country, capitalism, America has produced
Right.
the most
The
self-made
American dream, the American
in
dream.
history. Yes, in
Think
history. So,
about that, where you can
yes.
actually come and be whatever you want to be. You can strive, you know, you land
So
of
it is
opportunity.
exactly. It is a land of opportunity. And I feel like all of these people that are angry at it are the ones that don't take advantage of it because they're morons. They don't,
You are
you know?
so funny. You are so funny. I love how real you are.
Yeah. It's just,
Nice
there's no
job.
time. There's no sugar coating any of
There's
this
not.
stuff.
There is not.
So
Um,
what they
why do you
are
think
doing
that,
is,
so you
yeah,
think they're just trying to rebuild, break down and rebuild because they're also teaching anti-Americanism
absolutely.
to our schools too.
Absolutely. And that's the whole point of critical race theory. So if you look at the founding theorists, like Kimberly Crenshaw, who was really into intersectionality and like counting your oppressions, which is another lesson that the students got. So they got a lesson on intersectionality, which basically they were shown these charts where in the middle it shows white, male, Christian, blah, 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 cisgender in a place of privilege. And then you went out from the chart and it showed more oppression as you keep going out in the chart. So if you are a Black female lesbian, you are in a horrible
Right.
place of oppression. So it's basically counting your oppressions. And of course, like I said, the white male Christians left out. And I do think that there's an incentive, especially, and this is a whole nother topic, but amongst white kids to find a way to have an oppression so they can be included in it.
Right.
Okay, so
Why
now
be left out?
so I can
Right.
have an oppression and be part of the oppression Olympics,
Mhm.
because otherwise which is so ridiculous. But yeah, they really do want to divide our nation. And I'm seeing the fruits of this, of what is
Right.
happening since I've been speaking up. I can't even tell you how many times I've been called racial slurs the last 2 years by people in support of critical race theory. And they're just calling me racial slurs, which is crazy because it's like, you guys claim to be anti-racist, but when someone speaks up against it, you're calling them racial slurs. But
Right.
back to the founder, Kimberly Crenshaw, the point of critical race theory is to dismantle systems of white supremacy.
It sure is.
So that means take away capitalism, take away. They also learned about dominant ideologies, and one of those included marriage. They're even attacking marriage as a system of the patriarch.
Right.
They are attacking capitalism as a system of the patriarch. And it's, or even two genders. The gender binary is a system of white supremacy and the patriarch. I mean, and they're teaching this to our nation, to our children. And
the tax money is going towards this class, towards this curriculum. And I mean, they're doing crazy stuff like this here in Illinois, all across the country. But I mean, you do live in California, and that is really the place where the crazy of all crazy is, unfortunately. So now what happens when you speak up? You're talking about how you got a lot of pushback, a lot of heat. They called you, I'm sure, a racist because of, and now you obviously have a heritage. I forgot if you're Jamaican. Is it Jamaican?
Yeah, Jamaican and white.
Beautiful. And so you're like, hey, I mean, you know, look at me. I am biracial myself. So you speak out. Tell us what happens.
Yeah, you know, I think anyone who is speaking against this will be called white supremacist, racist.
No matter what.
There's a particular, if you are a Black and speaking against it, you get called a coon, a house N-word, a Uncle Tom,
right,
a bed wench. I mean, it is really bad. And it's not just trolls online. It's the school board president called those of us that spoke against critical race theory at the school board meeting, which included myself and a Black parent. They called us anti-people of color.
Yeah.
And here we are, all we want. I am not against the teaching of hard history. I think that I think that slavery was an abhorrent stain in our history. It really was. And there's still slavery today. There's more people enslaved today in our world than there was enslaved in the past in America, in the US.
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that we need to apply guilt and oppression and victimhood onto our children because of this. I was just on a major daytime talk show this last week, 2 weeks ago, actually, the biggest daytime talk show there is right now. And I can't say exactly the name of it. I didn't know that I was going to be ambushed and it was going to be a whole audience against critical race theory and a critical race theory professor that was going to be, I thought it was gonna be like a panel. And then here I am, they're just putting this little teacher who exposed lessons against this.
Look how God is using you, though.
Yeah, it was
Polly,
insane. It was intense.
Yeah.
But
I have a feeling you did okay, though.
I did okay, yes.
I have a feeling you did okay.
3 times the professor stated he wants white kids to feel conviction so that they can change. Why do they need to feel conviction? What did they do wrong? They didn't do anything wrong. And we don't know if their parents or their ancestors or whoever was in their lineage, most people came over after slavery. A lot of people have, like, my white side is the original people that came to the US are Swedish that came over during the Ellis Island time, the great migration of people coming over, which slavery was already abolished at that point. And they want our children to feel guilt and shame because of the color of their skin, which is just so disgusting to me. And the fact that I'm being attacked because I don't want that on our nation's children is even more sad to show how low we've come as a society.
How low, how tolerant the intolerant, tolerant, right? All they preach is tolerance. And then, of course, if you just mention anything, it's like, you're a homophobic, racist, horrible person. Crazy. So now you end up, you talk to the school board, they kind of railroad you and you end up leaving. Yes. You said, I'm done.
Yeah, I resigned from the district. I resigned my beloved job. I mean, it was a lot of, I feel like our nation's children are being attacked on so many levels.
Yeah.
We had the lockdowns. We have all the gender identity stuff. We have the fact that our schools are failing them in just the basics. Our kids are performing at, I think it's only 50% of the nation can even read at grade level in the assessments that they've been giving our kids lately. And then they're forcing them to wear masks. They're putting all of the hyper race focused stuff on them. And then we need to remember that our children are not only being influenced by the teachers and the school counselors, but there's also, I'm telling the parents right now that yes, there's kids that didn't like this class, but then there's kids that loved this class and ate it up. And how are they going to treat their classmates that aren't into this? They're going to treat them just like how they treated me. More division. Exactly. They're going to treat your kids, the other kids at school that aren't, that have bought into all of this Marxist, hyper race focused garbage. They're going to treat your child badly if they stand up against this. Sure they are. Which your kids should stand up against it, but it's so scary they're so mob mentality. If you don't support Black Lives Matter, you hate Black people or whatever. They're so mob mentality right now. So I think that's the biggest danger right now is not just the teachers and the counselors, but the other kids that are being right. It's a culture of hate. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it really is. So it was tough for you to leave. You said, I'm gone, I'm going to move on. And you left teaching. Now you started something incredible. I want to talk about that in just a moment, but what can parents do kind of with this agenda? And then we'll get to what you started, because it's a great end to this story. Yeah. And it's a good transition on what parents can do as well. Yeah. What can parents do? We talk to moms all across the country. A lot of them are running for school board. A lot of them are speaking up at the schools. They're taking their kids out. They're looking at alternatives, right? As moms, we have to look at alternatives because obviously there's a huge, big F here. Just some of your advice. I firmly believe that if you are in a blue state or a blue city, one of the best things you can do is leave the state. I know that is so hard to pick up and leave. I left a tenured teaching position, and California pays their teachers pretty well. I left a tenured teaching position, moved across the country, left my family behind. A lot of them are on the left, so it wasn't that hard. You left California? Yeah, I left California. I'm in Florida now. Wow. And I don't think I would have been able to open up my business or have the inspiration to do that if I didn't get out of that toxic environment. Yeah, I could see that. Toxic environments. So to make the sacrifice to pull your kids, if you're in a blue state and you have your kids in public schools, your fight is going to be very, very difficult. Yeah. Because even if you get this stuff banned, which they probably won't, because they're digging their heels in, right, and they're getting more extreme because people are starting to rise up. you can't protect your child from individual teachers or their classmates.
Right.
So I think that if you're in a blue state, the best thing you can do is homeschool your child or leave the state. The other option is to make sure that you are advocating for academic transparency. So that means that all of the lessons that are being taught to your child, all of the curriculum is on a public website for you to look over. I think it's a great step in the right direction, but I don't think a lot of people have time to look at it, but at least
Right.
it keeps people accountable. They know that that parents are looking at these lessons.
Right.
And then school choice is a big one, but mainly it's time. We're at a time where it's a sinking ship.
Yeah.
They have, because we are fighting against it and we're rising against it, it's making them dig their heels in and go even more extreme with our kids, especially in blue states and
Yeah.
left-leaning states, left-leaning school districts.
Right.
So do what's best.
It's tough. It's a very tough decision.
Yeah.
They're looking, especially for the moms at work. I mean, there's a lot of challenges about homeschooling.
Yes.
That you have to get your household. You have, or can you afford private, or can you, can you do a
people are
hub?
doing it across
They
the
are
nation.
doing it.
Yeah. And, I understand that there's some circumstances where it absolutely cannot happen. I think that if you pull your kid out, like let's say 6th, 7th grade, where they can maybe go over to a friend's house or an aunt or an uncle that's at home and
Right.
they plug into an online school, that's better, because it really starts getting bad. I mean, it's trickling down into our elementary schools pretty harsh, especially the gender identity stuff.
Oh yeah, right down to kindergarten with
Yes,
pronouns.
right down to kindergarten. Right? But I firmly believe your child is safer on a computer at home doing online school than being in these crazy indoctrination camps.
Well, and we try to give moms all the tools so they can figure it out. I know some moms have gone back to work part-time so they can afford a private school if they don't feel like they can homeschool. I mean, there's a lot of options. It's difficult, but geez, what can we, it's at 6 hours a day. Where are your children? What are they learning and how are they being affected? So we do pray for the moms that are listening and trying to make these decisions on what to do with education. But I do want to talk about what you went on to do. How cool is this? Because this is an opportunity for moms to check out your organization, your online school. So it's a fully accredited educational institute, right? Called Exodus Institute.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is, it's funny. I always had a dream of opening my own school, and then I set it aside.
Come on. Are you serious?
Yeah. I set it aside because I got tenure and I was enjoying my job as a public school teacher. But now I realize that's not what God wanted for me. And he kind of had to push me out, like put me in a horrible situation.
Literally.
Push me out and like make the job so uncomfortable, because I would have stayed teaching in public school. If I could rewind 5 years and just go back to what it was like 5 years ago, I probably would have just stayed indefinitely. Sure. And now here I am opening my own school with my husband, who's also a credentialed teacher. It's called Exodus Institute. It's an online, fully accredited K-12 school. We already have 100 students. So we're about to hit 100
Nice.
students. We launched in May. We have 2 programs. So we have our fully accredited K-12 program, which is for parents who want to pull their kids from public school, but don't necessarily want to do the teaching. Not everyone is built to teach their own children all of the academics. There, of course, you're always a teacher to your child, but maybe you don't want to be the one to teach them algebra.
Right. Yeah, so that would scare me to death, because I failed math. That was not my strong suit.
Exactly. So our K-12 program, we also offer a la carte classes. So if a student is behind and they need to, especially for high schoolers, if they just need a few classes to get it done, our schools have guaranteed the K-12 program. All of our teachers have vowed to not include any woke ideologies into their lessons.
Wonderful.
We offer a Christian and a non-Christian program, because we do understand that some parents aren't Christian, but they want their child to be free from these woke nonsense.
Right.
And then we also have a enrichment program, which is taught by myself and my husband, which is directly countering all of these leftist narratives. So that program comes with the full program, or parents can get that separately if they already have a homeschool program, but they want to add lessons. And that's 5th through 12th grade that counter all of this hyper race focused stuff that our kids are getting and teaches, like, for example, I just did a lesson on the American dream, and I
Oh,
teach them how attainable it is in
I love it.
America.
I
And
love it.
the goal of the enrichment program is not only do we need to make sure our kids are not being indoctrinated by the left, but they also need to be immunized from the left.
Mm,
They need to, because they are our future.
they sure
And they
are.
need to be able to be the ones to stand up against their kids that are being radicalized. You got to remember, like I said,
Right.
they're radicalizing their children. So we need to make sure our kids are there to counter it. Be like, nope,
Right.
this is why we don't do communism. Like
Right.
we have a whole, the kids are they can earn a anti-commie certificate from our school, where they learn about North Korea, they learn about socialism, they learn about I have a whole lesson on Venezuela and what happened there and why it collapsed
I
because
love
of their
this.
socialism. So it's teaching kids how to counter
Yeah.
this stuff, because they also might get it in college as well.
Right. Well, one of our pillars is raising patriots.
Exactly.
Empowering moms,
Exactly.
promoting liberty, and raising patriotism. And we just released Restoring Patriotism, a movement to restore patriotism in every home,
That's
all
exactly the
across
goal
America.
of our enrichment program.
So
Yes.
I love it. I love
Yes.
it. We'll make sure that we share all your information on the website. So what is the website for, so we can make sure?
Thinkexodus.org. Thinkexodus.org.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, I love what you're doing. Just one last question. You said that you were left leaning before you became right leaning. Is it a quick answer to that one? I know there's probably a big old story to this, but what made you wake up?
I really was tired of seeing what happens is the left creates problems and then the solutions make them worse. They do that over and over and over again. They create these problems and they propose these solutions and then they make it worse. We all know that the left, or Democrats, were behind a lot of the real systemic racism in this country from the past to now. And then their solutions are to do more racism in this country. Right. So I've noticed this past pattern as I was a young voter, where I'm like, why am I voting for? They're just making things worse. They create these problems and they make it worse. And then on top of that, after I left, I was kind of apathetic. I didn't really participate. And then when I started speaking up against this stuff, the way I was treated kind of sealed the deal. I'm like, wow, here I am, a force. Like, I am really a strong force for whatever side I'm on. And you guys, instead of trying to get me to come back, you guys are treating me like trash. Wow. You guys have a lifelong enemy out of me now.
You have sealed the deal. You were on a journey. You were just starting to put two and two together. And then you kind of went passive and just chilling out. And then you were like, wow, this is coming right into my school. This is coming into my kids.
Exactly.
And when you speak up, boy, they just come after you with daggers, don't they?
Yep.
It's unreal.
Yes, they do.
Wow. Well, interesting story. I love what you're doing. Thank you. Thank you for stepping up and let God use you in a powerful way. Amazing. And I love your PragerU. I don't know what the title of that is, but look that up too. Carly does a great job on a PragerU video about CRT and her experience. So God bless. And again, we'll encourage our moms to stop by thinkexodus.org and check out the school and the resources that you have. So thanks so much. We really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, before we close, I'd like to remind all of you to visit our website at momsforamerica.us. Again, momsforamerica.us, to check out all of our amazing resources, events, and programs. I love to just personally invite you to check out our signature program along with all of our other resources there. But the cottage meetings, that's our showcase piece. These 12 lessons will inspire and educate you about America's amazing heritage, so you can share those principles of liberty in your home and in your community, like we were just talking about with Carly. This program, along with many others on our website, will help you impact your family in a very powerful way. From parental rights to public policy, Moms for America has it all. While you're there on our website, I also want to invite you to sign up for our weekly newsletter. So please sign up for that so we can connect with you and keep you updated on the issues and all the resources that we have every week. and you can engage with moms from all across the country. So please go ahead and do that. We say this every week. We believe that liberty begins at home with you, mama, in your home, and that moms are truly, truly the heartbeat of America. That's why this movement is so powerful. We believe that the moms are going to go ahead and save this country because so much is at stake. And we just, us mama bears, we protect our children. And so that's why we're going to save this country. Like and subscribe, share this with your mama friends. But before we go, I do want to talk with you really quickly about our Restoring Patriotism initiative. So go ahead. This is a little bit of a lead into this. We released this this program, this initiative of last month. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. Those of you who are watching can watch it. Those that are listening will listen. But it is called Restoring Patriotism. And we really think that this is how we are going to save our children and restore patriotism one home at a time. Take a listen.
Our greatest gift is our children. Our biggest blessing is our freedom. Our toughest battle right now is preserving America. Patriotism is under attack. The liberal culture has decided that America is no longer great, that celebrating our country is offensive, and being a patriot is no longer admirable or worthy. Well, we are changing that. We as mothers are flipping the script and restoring patriotism in our homes, our schools, and in our country. Moms for America is releasing a national campaign to restore patriotism, a movement to celebrate and honor our amazing country. We know that the future generations must carry the torch of freedom and defend the principles of liberty. That is why we are providing amazing resources to restore and renew a patriot heart. We are making it easy to turn your home red, white, and blue with Patriot Packs for your kids, American Heritage books, Liberty trips for your family, and various mentorship programs for moms, kids, and families. Our children must know why we stand for the anthem, why we kneel and pray, why we pledge allegiance to our country, and what makes America exceptional. Moms, please join us as we change the culture and restore patriotism, one home at a time.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed that video, that message. It's moms that are going to help restore patriotism. So go ahead to our website and check out our whole Restoring Patriotism initiative, our website there. So one thing I do want to mention, though, before we wrap up here, is that it's a special thank you to you when you go to our website, momsamerica.us, and you check out Restoring Patriotism, and you take a look at that Patriot Pack. We're going to go ahead and give you that at a special. You'll be able to get the Patriot Packs for 25% off. All you have to do is put podcast in the discount code, and you will get that for 25% off. So please join our Restoring Patriotism campaign. This is really how we're going to save the next generation, right? We've got to raise patriots. All right. Well, we will see you here back next week for another informative and exciting podcast episode next week. And Mom, let's keep changing our world one home at a time. And I will see you soon. Thanks for joining us.